69 years old, you don't expect to become homeless because of a text message. But that's exactly what happened to me. I was halfway across the country, sitting in a rental car outside a hospice center where I had just said goodbye to my sister when my phone buzzed. It was my son, my only child. I smiled. I thought he was checking on me. Instead, I read this: "Don't come back." That was it. No explanation, no mom, no call. Just 3 words that erased 30 years of sacrifice. I stared at the screen so long it dimmed. I actually thought it was a joke. Then another text came in. "Lila and I need space. You can't live here anymore." Can't live here anymore? In the house I paid off, the house I renovated, the house I put in his name because I trusted him. I was 1,200 miles away, and suddenly I didn't have a home. Now, before you think I'm some controlling mother who wouldn't let go, let me tell you something. I stepped back. I gave them privacy. I moved into the guest suite. I paid the utilities. I even signed the house into a family trust so it would avoid probate when I died. Because that's what mothers do. We build, we secure, we protect. What we don't expect is eviction by text message. I called him, straight to voicemail. Called again, voicemail. Then I texted, "What's going on?" He read it, didn't answer. That silence, that's when I knew this wasn't emotional. It was planned. You see, 2 weeks earlier, Lila had asked strange questions. Is the house fully in Daniel's name? What happens if something happens to you? Are there any other beneficiaries? At the time, I thought she was just being curious. Now, I realized she was calculating. So I did something they didn't expect. I didn't beg. I didn't argue. I didn't fly home. I called my attorney, and I asked him one question. If the primary resident violates occupancy terms in the trust, what happens? He paused, then said, "Everything freezes." I smiled. Good. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was heartbroken, but because something felt off. This wasn't about space. This wasn't about comfort. This was about control. And by midnight, I had confirmation. A neighbor sent me a message. "Hey, is everything okay? There's a realtor sign in your yard." A realtor sign. They were trying to sell the house without telling me, without legal authority, without understanding what they had just triggered. By 6:12 a.m. the next morning, my phone started exploding. Call after call after call. Daniel, 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 unknown number, Daniel, Lila. I counted. 89 missed calls and 3 voicemails that started with, "Mom, please pick up." But by then, the house was locked, the accounts were frozen, and the paperwork was irreversible. They thought they were pushing me out. What they didn't realize, they had just locked themselves out of everything. And here's the part that still keeps me up at night. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the house. It was the reason they did it. And when I finally found out why, I almost wished they had just been greedy. Because what they were hiding was worse. I didn't answer the first 27 calls. I just watched the screen light up over and over like it was begging. When someone tells you not to come back, you don't get to panic 12 hours later. By call number 43, I poured myself coffee. By call 61, I finally pressed play on the first voicemail. "Mom, please, just call me. It's not what you think." Not what I think? You told me not to come home. There aren't a lot of interpretations for that. The second voicemail was Lila. Her voice was shaking. "Evelyn, there's been a misunderstanding. We need to talk. Please call us before this gets worse." Before what gets worse? That's when I knew. This wasn't about emotions. This was about consequences. At 8:04 a.m., my attorney called me. "You pulled the trigger fast," he said. "I don't hesitate when I'm disrespected," I replied. He cleared his throat. "Well, good thing you didn't, because something's wrong." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "There was a pending transaction request submitted last week." My heart went still. "What kind of transaction?" "A home equity withdrawal attempt." Silence. In the amount of $420,000. $420,000 against my house, my trust, without my authorization. Now, here's something most people don't understand. When you put property into a trust, it protects assets, but only if certain rules are followed. And one of those rules, no major financial movement without trustee approval. That's me. Which means they tried, and the system flagged it, automatically. That's why everything froze. That's why the account's locked. That's why the title company halted the sale. They weren't just trying to move me out. They were trying to liquidate. Suddenly, Lila's space made sense. The realtor sign, the weird questions, the tension. They needed me gone long enough to push paperwork through. They thought I was distracted, grieving, traveling, old. They forgot one thing. I used to run an entire school district budget. I may be 69, but I am not naive. At 9:16 a.m., I finally answered. Daniel picked up on the first ring. "Mom, thank God." "What did you do?" I asked calmly. Silence. "I don't know what you're talking about." I let that hang there. Then I said, $420,000. His breathing changed. That's when you know someone's lying. Their breath shifts before their words do. "It was just a loan," he rushed. "We were going to pay it back." "With what income?" I asked. He didn't answer. Because here's the truth. He quit his job 3 months ago, told me he was pivoting careers. Lila started an online boutique that hadn't made a profit, and somehow they thought borrowing against my house was the solution, without telling me, without asking, without consent. Then he said something that cracked me. "It's basically mine anyway." Basically mine. I closed my eyes. Do you know what it feels like to realize your child sees your life's work as a waiting inheritance? Not love, not security, just an asset. I kept my voice steady. "You tried to sell the house." He snapped. "We needed capital. You don't understand pressure." "I understand accountability," I replied. "You said it would be ours." "I said you could live there. I did not say you could gamble it." That's when Lila grabbed a phone. "We're drowning," she cried. "There's debt." "What debt?" I cut in. Silence. The kind that screams. 3 weeks earlier, Daniel had co-signed something. Crypto investment, high risk, guaranteed return. It tanked. They panicked. Instead of telling me, they tried to leverage the house. My house. And when they realized the trust blocked them, that's when the text came, "Don't come back." Because if I was home, they couldn't maneuver. Call number 72 came while we were still arguing. It was the title company. "Mrs. Carter, there appears to be attempted misrepresentation on a listing submission. We need clarification." I put them on speaker and said calmly, "I did not authorize any sale." Dead quiet on Daniel's end. Because now, it wasn't just family drama, it was legal territory. By noon, the realtor sign was removed. By 1 p.m., the listing disappeared online. By 3 p.m., Daniel called again. Voice different, smaller. "They're saying it could be fraud." I didn't respond, because technically it was. Attempting to withdraw against a trust asset without trustee approval, that's not a misunderstanding. That's paperwork with teeth. "Mom, please," he whispered. 89 missed calls later, and now he remembered the word mom. But here's the part that shattered me. He wasn't scared of losing me. He was scared of losing the house. And that realization hurts in a way no yelling ever could. That night, I booked a flight home, not to beg, not to argue, but to look them in the eye. Because the truth about betrayal, you don't fully feel it until you see the person who did it. And when I walked through that front door the next evening, I didn't recognize my own son. And what I found in his office drawer made everything worse. When I unlocked the front door, the house didn't feel like mine. Not because the furniture had changed, because the energy had. You know how a place can feel heavy? Like something's been said inside those walls that can't be taken back? That's what it felt like. Daniel was standing in the kitchen. He looked thinner, not stressed thin, guilty thin. Leela stood behind him, arms crossed, like she was bracing for impact. Neither of them hugged me. That told me everything. "I didn't think you'd actually freeze everything," Daniel said. Not, "I'm sorry," not, "we messed up," just disappointment that I moved faster than he did. "I didn't think you'd try to sell my house," I replied calmly. Silence. I walked past them into his office, the same room that used to be his childhood bedroom, where race cars once sat on shelves, where college acceptance letters were taped to the wall. Now it smelled like stale coffee and panic. His laptop was open. I didn't ask permission. I didn't need to. The trust legally made me primary authority over property matters. And what I saw wasn't just crypto losses. It was worse. 3 personal loans, 2 maxed credit cards, 1 private lender. Interest rates that made my chest tighten. Total debt? $612,000. Not 420. 612,000. My knees almost gave out. "How long?" I asked quietly. Daniel didn't answer. Leela did. 8 months. 8 months. 8 months of dinners at my table, 8 months of smiling, 8 months of pretending everything was fine while they were digging a financial grave. "So you thought the solution," I said slowly, "was to remove me from the house so you could refinance without my knowledge?" Daniel snapped. "You wouldn't have understood." I turned to him. "Try me." He hesitated. Then it came out. "I was trying to fix it before you found out." There it is, the logic of pride. Hide it, double down, borrow more, risk more, pray harder, until the hole is too deep to climb out of. Then I found something else, a document draft, power of attorney request, my name on it, unsigned, but prepared, dated 3 days before the text. I felt my heartbeat in my ears. "You were planning to request financial control over my assets?" "It was just in case," Leela rushed. "In case of what?" "In case something happened to you." Something happened to me. I looked at my son, and for the first time in my life, I didn't recognize the man I raised. "Were you waiting for me to die?" I asked quietly. Daniel's face crumpled. "No, God, no." But here's the thing. When someone positions themselves to benefit from your absence, it doesn't feel far off from that. He sat down hard in a chair. "I thought I could turn it around," he whispered. "That crypto advisor said—" "There is no advisor that guarantees returns," I cut in sharply. "I spent 30 years managing public budgets. There is no such thing as guaranteed high reward, only guaranteed regret." Leela started crying. "We're being sued." That made everything stop. For what? Daniel rubbed his face. He borrowed from a private investment group. Borrowed. Without collateral, without telling me, using projected equity from a house he didn't legally own. My house. Suddenly, the 89 missed calls made sense. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't love. It was a deadline. They needed me to reverse the freeze before legal notices escalated, before lenders realized the trust blocked liquidation, before fraud investigations deepened. They weren't calling for forgiveness. They were calling for access. I sat down across from them, and I asked the hardest question a mother can ask. If the trust hadn't stopped you, would you have told me? Daniel didn't answer. That silence, that was the real betrayal. Not the debt, not the attempted sale. The silence. I stood up slowly. You told me not to come back. He looked up, desperate now. I panicked. No, I said evenly. You calculated. Because pushing me out was step 1. Freeing the asset was step 2, selling it was step 3, and hoping I wouldn't fight? That was the mistake. Here's the truth no one prepares you for. Raising a child doesn't guarantee their character. Love doesn't guarantee loyalty, and generosity doesn't guarantee gratitude. That night, I slept in my own room, locked the door, and called my attorney again, because now this wasn't about disrespect. This was about survival. And the decision I made the next morning is the reason they truly lost everything. Not just the house, everything. By 6:42 a.m., my phone had 89 missed calls. 89! From my son, from his wife, from unknown numbers, from their landlord. I didn't answer a single one. Instead, I walked into the bank, and I closed everything. Not just the joint account, everything tied to my name. Because here's what my son forgot. That dream house they were living in? My credit. That business investment he bragged about online? My collateral. That Tesla in his driveway? Registered under me. See, when he said, "Don't come back," he thought he was dismissing a weak, emotional mom. He forgot who built their safety net. By 9:15 a.m., my lawyer called. "Are you sure?" he asked. I didn't hesitate. Yes. He exhaled. Then we move forward. Within hours, the house refinancing was frozen. The lien got activated. The investment funds locked. And since the car payments were technically in my name, repossessed. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just made phone calls. Around noon, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a missed call. It was a voicemail. From my son. His voice wasn't angry anymore. It was shaking. "Mom, I didn't know you were going to do all that. We were just mad. You didn't have to go nuclear." "Oh, now it's nuclear. But when you told your mother not to come back, that wasn't?" I replayed the message 3 times, not because I felt guilty, because I was realizing something. This wasn't about disrespect. This was about influence. His wife. Let's call her Brianna. From day 1, she treated me like competition, like I was in the way. She wanted control. And the fastest way to get it? Remove the mother. At 2:03 p.m., there was a knock at my door. I already knew who it was. I opened it slowly, and there he stood. My son. Same eyes, same face I used to kiss goodnight. But now, desperate. Behind him, Brianna sat in the car, didn't even step out. Of course she didn't. He looked exhausted. "Mom, please, can we talk?" I stepped aside. He walked in, looked around like he hadn't seen this house in years. "You really pulled everything." "Yes." "You didn't warn me." I tilted my head. "You didn't warn me before you told me not to come back." Silence. He ran his hands through his hair. "They're saying we have 30 days before foreclosure." "I know." "The investors are backing out." "I know." "The car's gone." "I know." His voice cracked. "Why would you do this to me?" And that's when something inside me snapped. I stood up. "Do this to you? I gave you everything. College, down payment, business capital, free childcare, emotional support. And the first time I wasn't convenient, you erased me." He looked down. I was under pressure. "No," I cut him off. "You were under influence." His jaw tightened. "Don't blame her." "I'm not blaming her," I said calmly. "I'm blaming you." He sat there for a long time. Then, finally, he whispered, "What do I have to do?" There it was. Not, "I'm sorry," not, "I was wrong," but negotiation. Damage control. I leaned back in my chair. "You move out of that house." His eyes widened. "What?" "You move into something you can afford without my name attached to it." "That'll ruin our image." I laughed. "Your image is already ruined." He swallowed. "And Brianna? That's your wife. That's your choice. But understand this." I leaned forward. "If she ever disrespects me again, you won't just lose a house." He nodded slowly. For the first time in years, he looked like a little boy who understood consequences. As he walked out, Brianna finally stepped out of the car. She stared at me like I was the villain. I stared back like I was the storm. She mouthed something. I couldn't hear it, didn't care. Because here's what neither of them realized yet. They hadn't lost everything. Not yet. But they were about to. Because that investment deal, it wasn't just collateral. It was tied to a contract clause, one they never read. And when that clause triggered, it wouldn't just cost them money, it would cost them reputation. And in their world, reputation was everything. That night, I sat alone. Phone silent, house quiet. I thought I'd feel guilty. I didn't. I felt clear, strong. For the first time, I wasn't a mother trying to be loved. I was a woman who demanded respect. And by morning, the 89 missed calls would turn into something much worse. Public exposure, legal letters, and a decision my son never thought I'd make. The clause triggered at 8:17 a.m. I know the exact time because my lawyer called while I was pouring coffee. "They're in breach," he said calmly. That's it. 3 words. They're in breach. See, when I helped fund my son's startup, I didn't just hand him money. I structured it. Ownership percentages, performance requirements, conduct clauses, and one specific line, any public or private action that damages investor reputation or family credibility can result in immediate withdrawal and liquidation. Guess what counts as family credibility? Disowning the primary investor in writing. That text, "Don't come back," he didn't know screenshots are forever. By 10 a.m., the investors got the notice. By noon, the funding evaporated. By 2 p.m., their luxury lifestyle was already cracking. Their social media went silent. No more brunch pictures, no more boss couple captions, no more fake motivational posts. Because the truth? They weren't bosses. They were leveraged. And I was the leverage. At 4:12 p.m., my phone rang again. This time, I answered. "Mom." His voice wasn't angry, wasn't defensive. It was broken. "They pulled out." "I know." "They said something about conduct violation." "I know." Long pause. "Did you send them the text?" "Yes." Silence. Heavy silence. "You ruined everything." "No," I said calmly. "You did. I just stopped protecting you." He started crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just the kind of cry a grown man makes when reality hits. We have nothing now. And for a second, just a second, my heart cracked, because that's still my child. But then I remembered standing outside his house, remembered the message, remembered how disposable he made me feel. "You have each other," I said. "That's what you chose." 2 weeks later, the house went up for sale. Not by choice, by necessity. The Tesla? Gone. The business? Dissolved. The investors publicly distanced themselves. And Brianna? She posted one cryptic quote before deleting everything. Sometimes toxic parents sabotage their children's success. Toxic? I smiled when I saw it. Because people who know the full story don't post quotes. They post receipts. And I had those too. But I didn't need revenge. Life was already handling that. A month passed. Then one evening, there was another knock at my door. I opened it, and there he stood again. But this time, no designer clothes, no ego, no Brianna, just him. "Can I come in?" I let him. He sat at the kitchen table where he used to do homework. He looked smaller somehow. "She left," he said quietly. I didn't react. She said she didn't sign up for struggle. There it was, the influence, gone when the money disappeared. He looked at me. I messed up. First real apology. No negotiation, no manipulation, just truth. I chose pride over loyalty. Tears filled his eyes. And I lost everything. I shook my head slowly. "No," I said. "You lost what was built on me." He looked confused. "You still have a chance to build something on your own. Here's the part nobody expects. I didn't give him money. I didn't reopen accounts. I didn't fix anything. What I gave him was a boundary. I told him, you can rebuild, but not using my name. You can visit, but not disrespect. You can call, but never erase me again." He nodded, and for the first time in years, he listened. 6 months later, he's renting a small apartment, working a real job. No flashy posts, no fake image, just quiet rebuilding. We have dinner once a week. It's not perfect. It's not what it used to be, but it's honest. And sometimes that's better. So when people ask me, "Do you regret pulling everything?" I say this: love doesn't mean unlimited access. Motherhood doesn't mean silent suffering. And blood doesn't excuse betrayal. That night he texted me, "Don't come back." He thought he was pushing me away, but what he really did was force me to choose myself. And by morning, after 89 missed calls, they didn't just lose money. They lost the illusion that I was weak. And that's something I'll never let anyone believe again.